Raymond Arroyo sitting in for Laura Ingraham. My next guest is an Academy Award-winning director, a legendary actor whose films have touched generations. This being the fifth day of Christmas, in his latest film, Fatman, he plays a besieged Santa struggling for survival in a cynical age. Mel Gibson joins us from L.A. Mel, thanks for being here. I want to ask you about COVID, the anniversary of Braveheart. But first, like so many, I happened across Fatman during the holidays. It's a fascinating, dark comedy thriller with a heart. The Nelms brothers, who directed this, told me today they saw you at an event with that beard and said, "This is our Kris Kringle." Why did you want to do this film?
Well, he was just, he kind of revealed the humanity of who Santa Claus might be. He was just a regular guy, you know, lost his faith in humanity a little bit and sort of was a little down and depressed about perhaps the cynicism around the world, and it was dragging him under. But I think the message... Yeah, go on.
Go ahead. No, you go.
Yeah, I'm good. That's all I wanted to say. He was just an interesting character.
There's a lot here.
Yeah.
Look, we had just watched Miracle on 34th Street, and then we screened Fatman. And without giving away too much of the plot, Santa's in trouble. I mean, he's going broke. He's got an assassin chasing him. I told my kids, this is like Miracle at the OK Corral. What did you bring to this character? How did you see him?
Yeah, that's more like, and basically it does have a kind of a Western format. You know, it's like watching High Noon or something. You know, there's a bad guy coming, and what's Santa going to do? Does he know he's coming? Well, Santa doesn't know he's coming, but you know, he's kind of fighting for his existence. You know, he's taken a job with the U.S. military to make components for Scud missiles or something. And the elves, he's got to break the news to the elves. And I mean, it's kind of like, you know, he feels pretty bad about the whole thing. But, you know, go on.
You also brought a gravitas to this, Mel. There's a, when I watched it, I kept thinking, you feel this guy's been around for a long time. And there's a dignity and a just part to him. He's really offended at the age and what's happened, particularly to kids. There are no more good kids left, or darn few of them.
Sure, he's delivering more coal these days. And, you know, he's been around for like 300 or 400 years. You know, the last guy that had the job must have dropped off the perch, but it's an unspecified amount of time. It's like what did the Mayans used to call it? There was a time period, like I can't remember what quadroon or something, and it was and he was just like he's like an old cowboy, you know, from the old West.
Well, you get that feeling. I want to give people a sense and a glimpse of you as the Fatman. Watch this.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's time I retired the coat. This is what people actually think of me. Christmas is a farce. I'm a joke. There hasn't been any real spirit of the season anymore. Not for years.
This is partly why it works, Mel. There's such a commitment to this, and you believe, particularly this relationship between you and Mrs. Kringle, Marianne Jean-Baptiste here. It makes it very credible and grounds the absurdist elements around the edges. Did that relationship surprise you between Mr. and Mrs.
No, not at all.
Kringle?
I mean, she's an accomplished actress. I love that she kept her British accent, because you're like, how did these two people ever get together? The cowboy and the British lady, and and one gets the sense that they're a real married couple. I mean, they seemed real in their relationship, and you get the idea that they actually love one another. So it's a kind of a cool story from that point of view. At the heart of this kind of Western with this assassin coming to kill Santa, there's this boy that he gave coal to. There's a hitman he hires a hitman to whack Santa. It's actually a very good message and a sweet film underneath it all, even though it is.
I agree. Look, Fatman was the number one film at Redbox. It was the number 2 film in all of streaming when it premiered. For weeks, it's been in the top 10. Why do you think audiences are drawn to it now, Mel, particularly during this lockdown period?
Yeah, well, I think streaming, of course, is the main way that people receive their entertainment. They go out to the cinema anymore; they can't do it. But and it's that time of year when they're looking for Christmas films, and it was kind of different. I mean, it's taken stuff in a little bit of a different direction. You know, it's a little dark, but ultimately not dark, and it's and it was amusing. I thought it was funny. You know.
No, it's funny, and it's got a moral component to it, and a chord to it that I don't want to ruin it for people, but it surprises you because you're set up to believe it's something else, and then it kind of hits you from the side. You had COVID earlier this year, Mel, and you were
indeed,
hospitalized. What was the worst part of that? Had there been any after effects at all?
No, not so bad. I mean, it was, in fact, my whole family got it, and they were out of it in like 2-3 days, the kids, and women don't get it as bad. The guys that seem to get it are older guys. I don't know why I got it. But
yeah, I don't know how it.
Yeah, me either. Yeah. So I ended up in the hospital for like, a week, and it kind of left in the same amount of time it came on in, and it leaves you pretty. The fatigue was the main thing about it. Yeah, getting your vitality back, But
well, you seem to have recovered, Mel. How has COVID changed Hollywood, do you think? I mean, these theaters are kind of out of the question, at least for the time being.
Yeah, I had a friend, and he was an exhibitor, and I asked him. He was from Texas, and I said, "How are you doing during this COVID thing? What's it doing to your exhibition business with the screens?" And he says, "I'm bleeding for about $48 million a month." That's pretty hefty. That's hefty for this guy and for anyone. And it's so it's going to change the biz. I mean, you've seen where Warner's have just taken their whole slate and moved it over to, HBO Max, and a lot of stuff's going to streaming that didn't. It wasn't conceived that way, but that's where it's going to end up, I think.
Is that good for storytellers, independent, creative storytellers that have had trouble finding distribution? I mean, you had trouble finding distribution in the past with The Passion and other projects.
Of course, there was heavy competition for distribution. There's only so many screens, and there's a lot of powerful players in there with the distributors sort of slugging it out for territory. So, it's easy to get swept aside in the rush of all the big boys, But I think it's easier this way. And I think storytelling, if it's a good story and you do a good job and you execute it well and you're original, I think you're always going to, the cream's always going to rise to the top. And I think there's more of an opportunity there on streaming now with filmmakers.
Well, I want to keep you right there. I want to keep your cream at the top, so stay there. Yeah. When we return, we'll talk about the 25th anniversary of Braveheart and those sequels audiences have been awaiting, Mr. Gibson. More with Mel Gibson when we continue.
Okay. Cheers.